Hello everyone. So here is Moonlight Soul, aka Mila, and this is my husband, Aries Point Project, aka Aaron. And we are here to cover the theme of the eclipse season. This time, unfortunately, without Lada, because Lada is taking some well-deserved time off. So we stepping in to tell you some astrological insight with regards to the eclipses we are experiencing at the moment. Not quite in the middle of them, but soon to be. And also, we would like to announce the sale that I am offering, but you can also book reading with Aaron. You can just put it in a comments that you would like to have a reading with him if you wish to do so. So any of my services that are listed on Lada's website will be 17% off for the duration of the eclipses in the honor of the Aquarius new moon solar eclipse and the beginning of the lunar year of the fire horse that began on February 17th. And once again, if you would like to have a reading with either of us together or separately, then just put it in comments when you book in the reading. And with that housekeeping out of the way, let's get started with the eclipse topic.
All right. Yeah. So powerful energies. I mean, you can really feel the shift since the eclipse. The fire horse year has come online. It's like feels like a flying over a field of ash, this fire horse, and it's just raising up the energy, pulling all the elements to the surface. And after everything we've gone through and what we're seeing in the world, as far as the energies of change through our systems, our leaders, our cultures, we're seeing what is the purity of the reason. Did we lose focus on what we're serving to ourselves and to others? And have we realized that how we treat ourselves is how we treat others? And in this process, how do you make a living? How do you find reason to live in this world without depending on the systems of the past and being blinded, so to speak, by the light of the old ideas? How do you find more of a sovereign authority within yourself and the meaning of life and feel that and live that?
And that is perfect. All of these words are perfectly describing the archetypes that we're working with because we just experienced the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius. And Aaron and I were looking at some of the anomalies that are happening throughout these past cycles of the eclipses being in Leo and Aquarius, especially the upcoming few cycles. Speaking of which, this time we're only going to have solar eclipses in Leo. The first one will be in August, no lunar eclipses. And then next time we have the eclipses in Leo and Aquarius in 35, we will have only lunar eclipses in Aquarius, no solar eclipses. So there are all of these seedings of this new energy. And of course, we are now heading towards the eclipse in Virgo. So just as Aaron mentioned that there is what is being initiated and seeded with this eclipse we just experienced, but we are still in the after effects of. And of course, this is seeding long-term cycles. Eclipses are not just lunation to lunation or also not just new moon to full moon. These are big cycles that we are dealing with at the moment. And of course, being in the age of Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius, Saturn just re-entered the sign of Aries, literally just now yesterday as we're recording this on Saturday the 21st. And it's interesting because 21st in Major Arcana is the World card and it is the Saturn day. And I mean, Saturn just entered into Aries. For some of us, we will experience Saturn back in Pisces. For some of us, not. But none of us will ever experience Neptune in Pisces ever again in this lifetime. So there are a lot of cycles that are ending. And with the Virgo energy that we soon be experiencing with the full moon lunar eclipse, what is becoming illuminated is that the old way of living as a human, Virgo, the human's journey, hero's journey, it is no longer sustainable.
Yeah, very well said. It is interesting. It's like the more you know, the more you know you don't know. And that's a lot of different parallels and allegories fit into that. It's like, forget who you think you are, become who you might be, to be or not to be. We're breaking free of the replications of our own programs, of our programming, the experiences. They help to create you, they help to build you. They're elements that you find a resonance in life, but they are not the definition of you. You're cultivating that, and it's through your awareness. And that's the fool's journey. You have to be the world, you need safety and security. This is the Cancer Capricorn energy. This is why we seek the systems. This is why we seek to be sure in ourselves and our surroundings and the people we care about. But we sacrifice the reason in a meaning which loses touch with reality over time. And we see it in our own lives, but we see it big time in our societies and cultures. So getting into the fool's journey, how do you bask in the glory of ignorance without it defining outcomes? How do you make wise mistakes? How do you live a dynamic language? How do you break free of the patterns of the past and understand that they're markers helping to guide you? Your awareness is growing. It's like any hobby or anything in life, the more you do it, the better you become. And a lot of times it's about forgetting what you learned and figuring out your own method, your own ways. And so we're learning how to do this in relationship, with not only ourselves, but each other and our past, our future, and every person in your life, everyone that's important to you. We're learning how to dance in a new way. And when you break free of that, whether it's in your own life or through the matrix, so to speak, there's a lot of contrast and absolutions falling, and you realize there's narratives and there are truths associated with relational dynamics that take time to transform. Everyone has to transmute themselves. That's Scorpio, that's Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius, it's like about transforming through the Five of Swords energy, the winning today, but losing tomorrow. We do that with the self-sacrifice, self-destruction. There's many ways to do it, and we do it as a natural process of understanding outcomes. It's not something to be vilified or denied. It's just part of awareness. It's a gift of a curse. And it's really just a verse in a long playing song that's always going, and it's changing as we change. And it's a beautiful thing when you see it from that Aquarian way. But when you fall into the depths of the emotions of the felt presence, then you bring it into reality and you realize there is a lot of power in isness and being alive. And you're not just living for yourself. Everything is part of your experience, these emotions, the people, the places, everything. It's all connected. And all you can do is cultivate the chaos within yourself to realize where's the contrast and control. How balanced is it? What are the metrics? Are they actually speaking the truth, or is it just a narrative or a story or a myth of the past?
And I feel that this is what Jupiter still currently retrograde as of 11/11 last year. That's when Jupiter stationed in Cancer. Jupiter is retrograde until March 10th, so week after the Virgo eclipse that we are approaching. And of course, Jupiter being in Cancer is affected by every single lunation until it ingresses into the sign of Leo, which will be on the last day of June or first day of July, depending where you are in the world. But speaking of all of that, should we share the chart so we can actually see people shows people what we're talking about? And also, it's important to note that at the time of both Saturn and Neptune ingressing into the sign of Aries, Mars has been in a sign of Aquarius as the ruler. Of course, Mars is how Pluto acts consciously. So we are seeking a new ways of action ourselves, of approaching reality that goes beyond the patterns. Because as I explained in my own personal video when I was talking about the new moon in Aquarius, even looking at the cycles of the past, what we know is the Saturnian aspect of Aquarius. It what already took form, what already happened, what already was created in the physical manifested reality. But the Uranian aspect of Aquarius is completely unknown because Uranus goes beyond the patterns. So having even Mars in the sign of Aquarius until March 2nd, so we actually have the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo with Mars already in the sign of Pisces, and Mercury retrograde because Mercury is currently in his pre-retrograde shadow stationing on the 26th. So we are really going deep within to understand, not even understand, understand the language of our soul to help us go beyond what has physically been manifested that now lost form, and it has ended because Saturn, Neptune are already in Aries and actually just had their conjunction yesterday, right, on the 20th. So that's what I meant. Yesterday, what happened was the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. So we are in a whole new cycle that's going to be evolving over what, next 35 years. I think Saturn-Neptune, they conjunct every 35 years. And Aron and I checked, and last time they conjunct, last two times, I think including this one, they conjunct in cardinal signs, and now it's going to change. Next time they conjunct, they're going to conjunct in Gemini, right?
Yeah, Gemini.
So we are entering into this time also with Uranus entering into Gemini, back into Gemini at the end of April, where the manifestation of your experience will look different for different people. Like this is the kind of split of the timeline, split of consciousness, dividing of the world, being prophesized and whatever. This is what it means, that the way we'll be experiencing the world going forward, more consciously becoming more aware, will be different for different people depending, and this is a topic for another conversation, on Chiron in Taurus. How deeply are you seeding in your own self-worth and value? But as I said, this is for another conversation. Here, what we're looking at is the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius chart, which of course already happened on February 17th. And then we're going to go from there to this full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, which is approaching quite quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's this energy shift is huge. You know, opening up the portals, opening up this eclipse portal. We have Venus in Pisces. You know, Venus is the ruler of both Libra, which is the transformation of Pisces, and Taurus, the grounding, the fertile nature of creation, you know, the spirit to form. This is Pisces to Taurus. And with Venus there, conjunct the North Node, and Mercury in the new phase in the shadow path, you know, Saturn just entering into Aries, and Uranus soon to be sextiling and squaring all these higher archetypical changes, these large cycle changes. This is Gaia, Uranus, and Saturn being reborn, the spirit in the form. And when you look at our moon cycles, when you look at the eclipse cycles, when you look at the archetypes that play here, it's all about the work of our ignorance and the realization of the transformation. What has that been? What is it to you? Is it actually a real representation of who you are? If you don't know it in mind, you got to get to the heart. You got to get to the feeling of it. And we are learning now, you know, we've been stripped of a lot of the mental limitations of who we think we are. We've had to feel deeper. We've had to feel more expansive. So now our thinking can release some of the old language because it can't meet us in the depths that we're going as a species, as a culture, as an individual. And so feeling into that, what is the worth? What are you cultivating? You know, every experience is just part of the foundation. That's the soil. You know, you got to put a lot of shit, a lot of stuff in the soil. You got to mix it up to give it the nutrients. And that's what life, you know, is doing for us. And with this eclipse energy leading us forward, we know we're moving from Pisces, Virgo, into Leo and Aquarius, and we're coming into that Aquarian age. We're at the anoretics of that energy, which is full spectrum. It's like, what soil are you, what can hold the fire? What can make you feel alive? What can you nourish and cultivate in this world of cult? Everything is culturing, we are becoming, and in that awareness grows. And so we're going to see the divide, as you mentioned, between those who took Shiva's technology, the mental weaponry, the language of the time, or those who fall back into the cycles of understanding which are not bound to sense self-identity. Going with the creative flow, what pulls the heart to life? How does that bring your thinking online? How do you see reality through that energy? I feel that's part of a big process for many people.
And the main aspect to mention with regards to the energy of the solar eclipse is the square from Uranus. So this is what is creating the tension, because we know with the 27-degree Uranus now going forward and straight ahead for this Gemini, which the ingress will happen on 25th, 26th of April, we know that the foundation of the reality that we've been comfortable with potentially for a long time, it's ending, like with this square from Uranus to the eclipse. This is an opening square for Uranus. So that's the crisis in action. Something has to change. Something has to change, especially in your foundation, which is your relationship to yourself. That's why what I said, the Chiron in Taurus will really be determining how these new timelines, what they will mean for each individual, because Taurus is a highly subjective energy, but it's the foundation with the beginning of the cycle starting from Aries, the new sparkle of creation coming into the new cycle, right? The incarnation of the spirit, and then it's the grounding on in the physical, and then the choice is being offered. So not going too far ahead with the stories, but with this square currently still at play, I mean, this fixed point in the sky, which was the square from the Uranus to the eclipse, this is something that's going to be evolving for this next cycle of eclipses, until the next time we have the lunar eclipses in Aquarius, only in the 35 going forward. And as I mentioned, we are only having solar eclipses in Leo this time around, no full moon lunar eclipses in Leo, just the same as we've not had any solar eclipses in Pisces. We still have the final lunar eclipse in Pisces this August, but we didn't have any solar eclipse in Pisces. So there are all these anomalies going on astrologically. And just like Aron and I just checked, we have 5 eclipses in 2027, 5 in 2028, 6 in 2029. So there are all these changes going on. We can say, yeah, the weather out there is going crazy, like the weather is not behaving normal, either too cold, too wet, too hot, too something too extreme, right? Uranus, unpredictable, right? Breaking of the pattern. There's a Taurus, how also the mother nature behaves, because the foundation on which our life is built upon, which is very externalized, that something else is in charge, something else is in control, it is no longer supporting this energy of Aquarius. So with the new moon solar eclipse, this one being the first one in the lot, coming online together with the fire horse, just like Aron said, like it's flying over the ashes. What did we shed in the year 9 with the wood snake, right? What has been shed, and now whatever remained, it will be just burned to ashes, because this fire horse representing freedom, wants to go forward. And with these energies coming online, the Aries for Saturn and Neptune, and soon to be Gemini for Uranus, and as of beginning of July, Jupiter in Leo, these are all strongly masculine energy of like going outwards, the young energy to create, to make something happen. So I feel now for the next few months, while this energy is still calibrating, we'll have the full moon in Aquarius northern eclipse at the end of July. That will be the first lunation with nodes in Aquarius and Leo, but it will not be an eclipse. As I mentioned, we'll still have the eclipse in Pisces this summer, even though the nodes will already be in Aquarius Leo. So again, we can see this pattern. We have eclipses in different signs than the nodes, I mean, nodes are still in Virgo Pisces now. We have an eclipse in Aquarius. So nothing is Like there is nothing you can look at and go, oh, this is a guarantee how the cycle will continue. That's why it's laughable for me when people go like, oh yeah, I've been tracking the stock market for 50 years and I can predict it. I know exactly what's going to happen, or the crypto or something. We're entering into a time where the Uranian energy is online for Aquarius, not the Saturnian in the same way, because Saturn is in Aries, is in a new cycle with Neptune. And with Uranus moving to Gemini, it is different timelines, different dimensions. It is a choice. So I feel there is a lot that this solar eclipse in Aquarius initiated, and this is an energy that even I don't understand. We will eventually understand with the passing of time, Saturn. But the full comprehension of what this means, it will take a long time to really be understood, because we are seeding something that has never been created before.
Yeah. It is, it's so old, it's new energy. It's, think of life and living. What is the reason? What can it be? What do you make your life? What is the meaning in your life? What do you give reason to? And this is something like, imagine there's a scenario, a sense of self that you have not touched. So it's like the reason. How do you find the reason? How do you create that? Most people are going to be seeking the world of what has been for reasons, because there's this tension rising within us. And that's going to spark a lot of change. It's also going to create the rebellion, self-rebellion in most people. They want to break out of the box. They want to get past the definitions. They want to realize what is the meaning in life. What is the felt presence? And some people who can't hold that energy because it hurts too much, they're going to fall deeper into the creation of the new, the code, the coding. They're going to be programming. They're going to be programming themselves. They're going to be trying to monetize each other and consume the attention of the others. And they're going to become the engine of the entity, which is growing through this. And it's you create or you consume in reality. And that's how it always is, no matter what you're doing. And so how do you learn the language to realize when you're in creation or consumption, and whether or not it's benefiting you? Is it actually helping you to move forward? Or is it binding you deeper in the ensnarement of what has been for where that's going? And, forget the doom and gloom. Change happens, and it's always going to be everything all at once. And it's where you are and in your life and what you're doing that helps you get through it no matter what. So whether it's all bad, whether it's all good, some people will experience a lot more good than bad, and vice versa. We seek in this myopia of perfecting the reason or the protocol, the mental loop of the past. We lose sight of what's actually meaningful, and the magic of existence fades away into hubris, into the books of the past. So we're trying to get back out of the myopia of the self in what I'm doing for, and be in service to the ignorant self that's in cosmic creation, a link to the ancestors in the past and the future.
And that's the perfect, it's not exact, but we have the trine from Jupiter to this North Node, Mercury new phase conjunction. And also Pluto is making the sextile, not yet exact, but already within an orb to Saturn and Neptune. And like I said, currently they are in a new phase conjunction as we recording this. At the time of the eclipse, they were still in a closing phase conjunction. So this is an opening sextile, which is the Taurus, a new foundation. The ruler Mars being in the sign of Aquarius, even though in a new phase like in a new cycle with Sun, they already had a conjunction, but as a static point in the sky closing. And then we look at the Uranus. Uranus is in Taurus as the ruler of Aquarius, is in Taurus. Saturn is in Aries. What does it mean? We're going beyond everything that has been manifest in the past because it was manifested as outcome of I am not worthy in myself and I have to prove my value. That's the in conjunction from Taurus to Libra, the quincunx, that I need to be seen by someone else to see my value. But there is an in conjunction, it's a blind spot. Nobody else will ever, well, that's not like guaranteed, but most people will not see the true value in you for who you are, but for who you can be to them as the potential, right? So only you can find your true value in yourself, because how other people see us, the Aries to Libra, is just a mirror. It's just a mirror, it's just a reflection. So that's why with these energies and also Chiron in the perfect quincunx with Lilith, Black Moon Lilith at the time of the eclipse, this is the blind spot, and the blind spots are always about the transformation through lived life, transformation through lived life. And this is actually a Capricorn decan, Capricorn degree, degree, and this is Cancer decan of Scorpio. So we are in times where we are self-creating. We are creating the new sense of self as the conscious creator, conscious or unconscious creator of reality. But this is how the cycles will be going forward and how the experiencing of the cycle will be split, not be the same for everyone. So this is the seeding of that. This is the seeding of that. It's saying a new foundation has to be created because the source is ready, the collective consciousness, the human collective consciousness, the cosmic consciousness, everything is ready for new cycle to manifest. And it's gonna go beyond what was the 19-degree sun card. It's a rebirth energy, but at the same time, we know that the foundation of which it's being built is changing. It's changing. It's being burned to ashes, and the ashes of the past are used as a fertilizer. So the meaning is being excavated and used to create something new, which is this trine from the Jupiter in Cancer, the feeling, the guidance comes from within, and the Mercury, the language of the inner guidance come from within, and the North Node in co-creation with something that is beyond just me or you or humans or this planet. It goes beyond all of this, because with Aquarius is the cosmic, it's our cosmic energy, and it takes you to source, where we all came from, where we all return into the oneness, right? So what's happening in the world and what's happening in your life, my life, or everybody's life goes beyond just my personal experience or the collective experience. These energies are supporting this evolutionary process that we are always in, but we are entering into a new cycle of it that is saying that the desire of the source has changed, and where we're going is something different. You don't have to like it, but it is what it is because it's been agreed. It's been agreed by the source, by something that is beyond my say, right? So also the vertex point being on the south node, right? Like there is everything is just, and I mean, it is in opposition.
And in conjunction with Pluto and the part of fortune.
Yeah.
And yeah, and if you have anything at 7, 8, 6, 9 degrees of Aries, that's activated for you as well. But yeah, that was beautifully said. Where are we going, in this reality? Remember when you were young and you thought that this candy bar, like say you love Snickers, that was the top of your wish list for sweets, and as you got older and your consciousness expanded, you traveled, you tried new things. You still like the old, Snickers, and you have a love of the nostalgia, but you've grown. And this is what living is. This is what awareness is. We don't have to settle on mistakes as a definition for who you are. They're part of a recipe. They're part of a language. It's a cosmic equation which does not end until you say it does. And it might end physically or mentally, depending on what happens in this world, but the soul's essence is there eternally. And so I feel we're becoming more aware of this consciousness. from a higher perspective. And that's just a natural part of the seasons of these times. So as everyone's going through this, it doesn't matter what position they're playing in reality or how they're creating their own mythologies. There's a drone of existence, a song rising up, and we're tuning our instruments and playing our melodies. And so we're learning what that could be, and if you've never heard a song, or if you've never heard a tone, how do you play it? We're trying to learn our language and bring this authentic expression of self into existence. And I feel that's part of what this melody of these eclipse cycles is bringing us, because we're working into form the spirit through the wisdom of the past and the fragility of the future. And we're seeing, where is the future? Is it linked to the static of the past that can no longer, it's already peaked, it's the top of Capricorn. How do we, create a new mountain? How do you culture new meaning into existence? And many children, they can't help it. It's their natural state. And that's true, but we are highly programmable and it's natural. So we're learning new release language.
And regarding the mind thing, the astrology of this is the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, which we'll experience on free portal. And it's interesting for me that is on 12 degrees, which adds up to another free. And 12 is, of course, the hanged man. And the free is the empress, the creation of the new foundation of new earth, the new earth. But it is like with the hanged man, it's not gonna be seen what you think. It's not gonna be look what you think, what you think, right? With the hangman. And I know that in my experience, when I share with my clients, when they are Libra rising or their solar return is Libra rising or lunar return, anything with Libra rising, usually your life is turned upside down. But it's not turned upside down to screw you over, but to bring you closer to your center, because we are living in inverted reality. Everything you were ever told about this world is very likely well, it's not necessarily the exact opposite, but it is inverted. Everything is inverted with regards to the program, because, it's like, the soul, your soul that is here to expand and grow, it's like, how do you say, like it's like mystery, puzzle, like it creates all these puzzles for itself, or all these like hide and seek, these secrets and stuff that you come here to honor, because this is a big game. It's a play. I mean, it is real while we're in a physical form, but for the spirit, this is an adventure. It's an entertainment. It's an adventure, because what else do? You incarnate somewhere and you have an experience, right? So with regards to this full moon, which is an illumination of what got seeded for you in September last year, when we had the second of the two Virgo new moons. We had the first one in August, which was on the analytic 0 degree, and then we had the second one, which was on 28:59, I believe, roughly 29 degrees. So the alpha and the omega of the Virgo, which is the human life, the lived experience. And we can see here that it's happening on the south node. This is a new phase conjunction with the south node. Also, the vertex point is right in between. And also on the opposite side, we can see Mars is on the analytic 0 and the Neptune, Saturn are 1 and 2. So we have a chronological order here. Mars is the ruler on the 0. Neptune, they have a mutual reception at the moment. Well, at the time of this eclipse, obviously, at the time of us recording, Mars is still in Aquarius. But there is the mutual reception between Neptune and Mars, and we have the 0, 1, and 2. And the eclipse is happening on number that adds up to 3 and is on 3. So, I mean, it's a joke, right? Like the universe is playing a joke. It's saying, well, what did you learn since last summer when we had this experience of these planets in a new signs and going back to old signs? And now you can see the contrast, right? Because an opposition, a full moon, always offers a contrast to help you to realize, to be illuminated. But of course, Mercury over here as the ruler is already retrograde at this point and is in Pisces, right? So ruled by Neptune, which is ruled by Mars, which is in Pisces again. The answer is not going to come from the logical mind, because this moon and the south node are already in a new phase. So it's saying, don't look in the past. The past will only teach you what already was. Excavate the meaning, Mars in Pisces, what still holds the meaning and value, but don't look back. Don't, it's like, to me, it's like that, the wife of the Lot, right? The Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Don't look back, because when you look at it, you become it. You
Yes.
keep recreating it. Don't look at it.
So that's because that's what I was feeling with the nodal shift in Chiron into Taurus. This energy we're seeding now is a quick intro into that. It's a perspective of what you're cultivating and meaning through your lived experience, your Venus energy. Where do you compromise and what do you compromise for? And how does that, is it a sacrifice or is it the act of will to create? There's many ways when we yang, we're compromising potential to become a form. So it's like from the void to form. So Venus is coming into balsamic phase conjunction with Neptune and Mars from Pisces into Aries. So Mars is calibrating to Venus at this time. And Venus will be coming across the Alpha and the Omega, that 0 Aries to 0 Libra, and that anaretic degree of Pisces, which is an amalgamation. It's the minerals of what you're putting into the fire. What are you bringing online? And so that's a quick energy for when Chiron goes into Taurus, and we see Uranus is in a new phase conjunction with Algol, the demon star, or Medusa's stare, the image of the past. And so a lot of the old wounds are going to be rising in the shifts because they need to be recognized with new ears, with your consciousness, which is expanding. And when you recognize it and you say, okay, this is what you feel like, this is actually what you become. And it's understanding the past is always changing through you, with you. And it's your awareness and how you value that. And it shows through how you value existence in your life. Ultimately, what is the value? That's what I feel we're bringing online as well with this full moon.
Yeah, we were just saying that, actually, I wanted to check where was Mars exact. Yeah, it was already kind of in a square with Uranus, and here in the lunar eclipse, it's also, but it's out of sign square, but it's still square in Uranus.
Yeah, lingering memories,
Closing square, yeah, closing square. And also Venus here, we can see she's coming into closing sextile with Uranus. And that is the Aquarian energy of sextile. The opening sextile is Taurus, closing sextile is the Aquarius. So we have a lot of culmination going on here. So this Virgo, and this is not the final eclipse yet. Funnily enough, we'll have one more in 2027. Go figure, right? Because the nodes will be already more than 6 months in Aquarius Leo, but we'll still have an eclipse in Virgo for the final time. So this cycle is not quite yet finished because, as I mentioned, we have the Pisces full moon, and then next year we'll still have the lunar eclipse in Virgo as well. But in any case, we can see that there is a lot of culmination. Also, the Pisces season in itself is culminating the astrological year we are just ending now. So this is where we have the continuous rebirth of energy, right? We entered into the new Gregorian year, then we entered now into the new lunar year, the fire horse, and soon we're going to be entering into the new astrological year as of equinox, but actually the new moon in Aries, which is usually happening alongside with the equinox, is not happening until mid-April, April 17th. So that's quite interesting. But anyway, we do have a lot of energies that are saying that, yes, the analytics are signifying the beginnings, but it's in Pisces. So just like Aron said, the energy that we are digesting, Virgo, and transforming with the quincunxes, it's so old, it's new, right? Because none of these feelings triumphed from Jupiter that are so highlighted and exaggerated that we are all going through, whether because of your personal life or what's going on in the world collectively that is bringing these emotions out of you, are yours. You didn't bring them with you, and you're not going to take them with you when you go to the other side. They already been here, and they've been here for a long time. So at the moment we're learning to discern, Virgo, which one of those are in alignment with where we're going and not. And how you know is how it makes you feel. So the sense of disempowerment, jealousy, potentially even anger to a certain extent, but that is the bridge frequency. But shame, guilt, these are the lowest ones, sense of victimhood, these are not going with. So this is why we feel so much of these emotions and processing so many of them as we speak. And especially with the full moon lunar eclipse, a lot of this will be illuminated because it's showing us the contrast between where we had been as a humanity and the potential of where we can go with the already seeded energies that took place in 2025 when these planets first started ingressing the new signs.
Yeah, very awesome. So,
Thank you.
so if you think of like, taking the complex and bringing it to simple, when you're in change, out of touch with the body, it's like, how do you ground yourself in reality? How do you come to grips with meaning? Sun is key. Sand, earth, the earth beneath your feet, water, salt, air, and then when you're in the body and those elements, it helps to ground you into a sense of, okay, this is a baseline for where I am in the most natural expression. Now, when I go here, these things arise, what do I do? So it just helps as a guide so that you know that your epigenetics matter, where your body is matters. And same with the mind, the narratives, stories, the past, the future, what could it be? Just realize that we don't actually know what absolute time is. We have no absolute time. We have an estimation. We've created our communal logos based off of that. So don't limit yourself to the limitations of an idea or of your imagination, but open yourself to the potential of that. So when you take in new information, say maybe it is, maybe not. What matters is what I can bridge in meaning through life, life willed into life, into living. And then spiritually or cosmically, how could I speak to that for you? How can anyone speak to it for ourselves? We're natural mystics. We all have abilities. We all have a propensity towards grounding ourselves in different things. And a lot of that is because we don't have an inner language, a voice that we can put meaning into. So we have to find out what modalities help us to tune in the temple of the self for another frequency. And so getting in touch with these types of concepts and living through them is a good way to get through the energies of change. Because we have, meanings for all of these symbols, but the meaning is what you make of it ultimately. And we're learning, it's good to have a language, a release language to help us, a dynamic logos, which doesn't constrain and constrict us any more than we allow it to, or we do ourselves. So it's not just the language of systems, such as our astrology, but it's relationship, and it's what you do in relation expanding, your epigenetics, your community, your people, so to speak. But in this time, we have to people ourselves first. We have to create the kingdom of inside and then bring it out, and then we find and we expand, and that's consciousness.
That's within, so without. But I just want to bring attention to the numbers because I'm just geeking out about the numbers. When you look at the numbers, so if you look at 24 as the 12 times 2, so it's the end of the zodiac, 12 Pisces, the number 12 associated with Pisces times 224. So if you don't simplify it as 6, but then you can and say, okay, things are balancing through the end. So you have a 12. You have 12 times 224, 12. Then we have the 27, which is 9, which is naturally the number of ending. The vertex is on 9, which is ending. Then we have 10, which is the reset, endings and new beginnings. So we have so many things in this chart alone that signify the endings and the new beginnings, endings of the old way of being. Also, technically for evolutionary astrology, we would still classify this as an in conjunction 3-degree orb between Lilith and Uranus. And also there is the trine from Jupiter as the storyteller, as the ruler of Lilith, which is saying that the story as old as time is ending. Why? Because we are remembering. Cancer, you are remembering who you really are, but it goes beyond this physical. It goes beyond your ancestor line and his story we were being told, which is not actually his story. It's just somebody told that story and adjusted it to their needed requirements to create a certain narrative. But anyway, and it's interesting that also the part of fortune, it's making in conjunction to the sun. You cannot say the eclipse, but the sun. So there are so many things that you can say like, oh yeah, gosh, all these things are going on. It's not great. And yeah, like it's the growing pains, it's the childbirth pains, right? But it's supported. Also, when you just look at the time, I mean, this is in Mexico, but the 3, 4, 5, 6, the chronological order, as I already pointed out, the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, Pluto 4, foundation. Everything is perfectly aligned. So we might not understand it. We look at it and go, how does this make any sense? How is this serving anything? Look at the state of the world. Look at the state of my life. But from the higher perspective, the Jupiter as the traditional rule of the North Node in Pisces, that this sun is in conjunction with new phase conjunction, it does have a meaning. It does hold a purpose. It is happening in alignment with the desire of your soul, with the desire of the cosmos, with the desire of the source, God, whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter the label. So we just have to go through it. And that's the Virgo, like understanding that there are so many things I cannot control and I cannot change. So I just have to go through it. I get to flow through it. And then eventually at some point in my life, if not while I'm in physical form, 100% after you not, it will make sense. So don't necessarily try to make sense of things that don't make sense. Just accept that there is a divine wisdom behind it.
Yeah, and making sense to the spirits, making sense when it comes to like spiritual energies, that's fatalistic. It means everything is a program, everything's already defined. There's a right way, it's going from here to here. It's very linear, projection oriented. We're dissolving that perspective. We're coming into there is no future but what you create. But that's not the point. It's to create. How do you get into the purity of creation to live? How do you turn the gift from a curse? How do you harvest the fire of the ancestors? How do you continue to make that something special? And that's what I feel as you were speaking of the in conjunction with Black Moon Lilith and Uranus.
Trine to Chiron, exactly.
Yeah, and that perfect trine. And it's like, everything from the past is going to hold you to its limits.
Mm-hmm.
Our limits are conception itself. It's not what you know, it's how you think. We got to come into the mutable energies of the magician here. We got to lean into what it is to be alive with that Virgo energy. Virgo is the highest expression of Mercury in form. Mm. It can be the perfect expression of what you're looking for, but it's transforming. It's the unconscious of Libra. It's coming into existence. And so it's sandwiched between the authenticity of Leo, that self-expression, a purity. Who cares what other people think? You're feeling it, you're going with it. And it's trapped between that and, well, what do other people think? What is the perfect expression? And so we're trapped in this energy a lot of times through relationship and a sense of who we were in that relationship. And this is where Mars, the passion, is actually calibrated to our Venus. The trine, the opening trine from Taurus to Virgo. It's like, well, what is the value of what you're bringing into existence? You are a fertile being. God creates in his image. it is ising. The void is ineffable. So what's your limitation? And the limitations will come and go, and so will the excuses. So just you have to find something to feed you, to soldier on if you're going through hard times. And you have to see that the limits are just markers for you to find freedom through your creative flows.
Yeah, just like from our personal experiences, what we are going through in our personal life, you are stripping everything that is not your true self and is in attachment to someone else. Continuation of your mother line, father line, husband, whatever. So we are going through this. Well, with the snake, we were going through the slow process of shedding, and now it's going to be rapid with the fire horse and all this masculine energy. We are literally stripping everything and burning and dissolving everything that is not your true, authentic essence of your soul. So all the labels, all the attachments, all the contracts, everything that was connected to someone else, which made you to play a role that is not your true, authentic expression, but it was to serve. It was to serve at the time and that was needed and required throughout the Pisces age and after effects of the Pisces age is going. Because now with Saturn and Neptune in a new phase conjunction, both in Aries, you're going to the origin of your soul. Know the origin of this incarnation where you agreed to play this role to all these people, individually, collectively. We're going beyond that now. We're going to the true origin of where you came from and what you came here to manifest at this time of Aquarian age, where there is a blank slate for humanity and saying, go and thrive, go and be like a child and create something that goes beyond the pattern of the Piscean age, of the four archetypes, of the victim, martyr, the tyrant, and the savior. Because none of us really feel aligned to play these roles anymore. It's very limiting and restricting. So this is yet another aspect that is being illuminated, and I feel that Lilith in Sag, ruled by Jupiter, who is trine in the Sun, and North Node in trine, Lilith in trine with Chiron as the key between Saturn and Uranus, Saturn being in Aries and Uranus being on the final degrees of Taurus, preparing us for the Chiron in Taurus. This is what it's becoming very clear to us, more and more conscious, more and more embodied, and with the Virgo, adjustments have to be made.
Yeah, and with the fire horse energy burning from within and without. So, of course, systems are changing. The powers that be, so to speak, the systems of control. In order for a society to continue functioning, it needs systems of control. It becomes something else. It's not what you think it is. It's beyond your conception. But it's living, and so systems of control will give us reasons to feel the emotions as well, and the changing world will. But I can't predict outcomes because that's just hubris. Sometimes we predict outcomes so that nemesis can rise and show us the teaching, and we do that unconsciously most of the time. But when you think you know it, it's going to change. And it's not necessarily because it's nebulous. It's because you're changing. We're all changing. And imagine a station on radio, a new channel comes up and it's got wider band, more range than all the other ones. Everyone's going to pick it up. And sometimes it will bleed through, and it bleeds through in other people and scenarios and situations. So that burning energy, use it constructively when you're conscious of it. And when you're not, just go through the emotional flow. Your mistakes are steps in a process of learning and acquiring gnosis, cultivating wisdom.
Yeah, that's why with the Virgo, it is not about perfection or getting to a certain endpoint, because there isn't one. There isn't one. The evolution will continue no matter what. So that's the in conjunction between Virgo and Aquarius. You don't really see, and you will never see the final outcome, because there is no final outcome. The evolution will continue. it was here before me and it will continue after me. And it's just interesting. I mean, obviously, this is just for this chart because it's the Vayartar, but the 21, as the, like Aaron was saying, while he was saying this, like popped up for me because of the Saturn as the archetype of the 10th house. And in this particular chart, 21 degrees, which is the world card, again, the graduation, and the traditional ruler Mars being in Pisces at the 0 point, and the modern ruler Pluto being in Aquarius in the house of Pisces on the 4 degrees, which is the Saturn, right? I mean, numerologically, with regards to the astrology, it would be the Cancer. So we creating a new sense of self by remembering who we are, because we've graduated from playing these roles of the old Piscean age. And the direction, it is not in a 3D. The direction is not in a 3D. You need to tune into it in a different ways, because the last physical form is the Capricorn, is the Saturn, the last planet that's seen by the naked eye. So beyond that, we only have the Aquarius in Pisces, which is the quantum field and the spirit realm. So this is how we're moving forward. This is how we're creating the new foundation from place which has not yet been manifested.
Yeah. And if you think about it, think of Noah's Ark in a way, or the Underground Railroad of the US history. Think of the Matrix, for instance. You can only put your mask on first, then you can assist others. And we're coming to the times where the world is, the pressure of the world is popping the seed, the realization is coming to. And epigenetics are important, and what you do. I spent many years working in a spiritless job, just looking at log files, fixing computer issues. There's no life in this. Okay, that's one example. I stepped outside of that. I created the void of isness. I don't have that energy in my life. Okay, this is any job, anything. If it doesn't align with your creative spirit, then dismiss it, cast it aside, move towards the epigenetics from all, think of it like a multivalent epigenetics from mind, body, spirit. You have to put yourself in these energies which nourish you and you can ground yourself into, and it doesn't bind you. And so in the changing times, countries such as Mexico are good for us. There's more freedom in the energy here. People are less attached to the systems. They're more in tune with the earth and the nature and the cycle and the season. Doesn't mean that change isn't going to happen. It's just it's slower in a slightly different variation of that change. And that's one epigenetic that I like. It's the energy of people who are not bound to the time of the day. They're bound to the feeling of what they do more so. And of course, people have bills to pay no matter where you go, but it doesn't become the crux of your existence, the cross for you to bear. And food, likewise, if you're in the inner city and there's no organic food and it's super expensive, find a place where you can get access to that.
And of course, I can hear like a lot of people thinking, oh, well, that's all well and good for you, but I mean, it's not necessarily available or possible for everyone just to like shed everything and like, okay, let's move to Mexico. So I feel with this Virgo, especially full moon, because it's an illumination, this will just show you, show me, show all of us like where we can start making small adjustments, because with Virgo, it's step-by-step process. It's like, it takes 21 days to break a habit and stuff. Like Virgo is very, it has to have a certain amount of time, right, that has passed. So this is where, it's not about, and again, what works for me might not work for you. What works for Aaron might not work for you. So this is about realization, self-realization of where am I at in my journey and what small adjustments I can make now that I had this experience of this past 6 months since the last new moon in Virgo eclipse. What have I realized? What have I felt? What have I inner stand in myself, in my life, in my being? Is it better for me to, live a life of comfort and luxury, but I feel dead inside, I feel a void with meaning and purpose? Or can I maybe make adjustments where perhaps I work less, perhaps I move to some place where I don't have all the convenience, but what really matters, like with this eclipse, I think what really is being illuminated is what actually really matters. What is the value that you want to work towards, that you want to bring into your lived everyday life. So I feel this is, and that means different things to different people. Some people thrive in the middle of city, some people don't. So this is about you understanding yourself and your own path without comparing yourself to others, because then you will always judge and criticize, and somebody is right and somebody is wrong, and somebody fails and somebody succeeds. And this is for everyone to decide for themselves what that means to you.
Yeah, that's Uranus Mercury, which you just said.
Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you would like to add as a closing thoughts?
Just live the good life as much and as well as you can. And you're going to feel the tension, and sometimes you'll break the chains, and sometimes they'll break in time through your awareness. It's like, okay, I guess I don't owe this energy any more of my attention. Then you can just move on. So
Yeah. And it will take time. So don't beat yourself up about if you feel like you're falling behind, or, oh my God, I'm again in the same situation, processing the same things. Because this year, I can guarantee you one thing: no matter what you're going through, you will move through it fast. That is a guarantee. No matter what's going on, you will move through it fast, because this is going to be an extremely fast year, and it's going to feel like multiple years in one, especially the first half of the year and second half of the year. It will feel like completely different years. So yeah, by the time we have the new moon solar eclipse in Leo in August, and the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces in August, that will be next year, next year, this year, next year. So anyway, so with all of that said, if you would like a guidance with regards to the current energies that we are all experiencing, because the nodes are in Virgo Pisces, this is a collective energy, then reach out. You can book a reading with both of us together. We have the alchemical metamorphosis process where we work together, or you can book a reading with either of us. Just put in the comments if, after you booked, which one you prefer. And and if you got it and you're right on track, then just keep going. Well done. And it's a process. So thank you all for watching. Thank you, Lada, for the opportunity. As always, a pleasure. And I hope that some of what we shared offered some value to you. And yeah, just take care.
take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.